So today we're doing a deep dive into a really devastating timeline. It comes out of Alton, Illinois, and it follows the sources surrounding the life and death of Lisa Dodd.
And she was so young, only 22 years old, 8 months pregnant.
Exactly. And her life was ended just so suddenly, so brutally. And this is a case that really it demands that we look past the initial horror of the crime itself.
All right, you have to. You have to focus on the warning signs.
Yeah.
What the sources tell us is that this wasn't just a single act, but really the end of a long, documented history of domestic violence.
And the first signs of the crime, the physical evidence, it was found almost immediately.
Yeah, that morning, June 9th, a construction worker.
Right, he was just throwing some stuff away in this big red dumpster near the apartment complex.
And in there, he finds a knife, a short, serrated utility knife, and there's blood on the blade, blood on the handle.
Just an awful, awful first discovery.
And a really frightening precursor to what came next. Because just hours later, around 1 in the afternoon, Lisa's mother, Heidi Noel, she shows up.
She hadn't heard from Lisa in over 15 hours, which for a woman that far along in her pregnancy, that's an immediate red flag.
Huge red flag.
Yeah.
She gets to the apartment, and the door is unlocked.
And the 911 call from that moment, it just captures this raw, unfiltered terror. In her shock, she's trying to explain what she's seeing, and she tells the dispatcher, "My daughter's killed. My daughter's chopped my head off."
It's her brain trying to process the unthinkable.
Of course. And when police arrive, they go upstairs to the second floor and they confirm this grim reality.
They find Lisa's body in the bedroom, and they initially note a towel wrapped around her neck, almost like a turban. But the truth was, well, it was far worse. Her head had been removed.
A dual loss, of course. Both Lisa and her unborn daughter, who they had already named Baby Bean.
Just devastating.
So our goal with this deep dive is to use these sources to really trace the path that led to this. We need to look at the history of abuse, the very clear warning signs, and maybe the bigger picture about the failures that happened here.
Absolutely. And to do that, you have to start with Lisa herself.
Who was she?
Well, the sources all paint her as this incredibly caring, enthusiastic person. She had ambitions. She wanted to go into the medical field, just like her mom.
And you see that caring side of her so early on. I mean, for her 10th birthday, instead of gifts, she holds a fundraiser for a no-kill animal shelter.
She was a giver. But for the last 2 years of her life, that spirit was really caught up in this volatile relationship with DeAndre Holloway.
On again, off again. The sources detail so much instability. He struggled with substance use, a tough home life.
To the point where at one time they were homeless, just living in a tent near a lake.
And that instability was directly tied to violence.
Tragically, yes. We have multiple witnesses, but her old boss from Dairy Queen gave some really critical testimony.
What did she say?
She said Lisa would come to work all the time with black eyes, bruises on her arms, obvious injuries.
And Lisa would make excuses at first.
Yeah, my dog jumped on me, things like that. But eventually she was honest about the fighting. It was constant.
And the boss didn't just hear about it, she saw it.
She saw it firsthand. Saw DeAndre punch Lisa in the face while they were sitting in a car. It underscores how public the danger really was.
And it was escalating. There was a hospitalization in July 2021.
A broken nose and 2 black eyes. This is the key thing for you to understand. These kinds of tragedies are almost never a sudden explosion. They're the end of a long road, and that road is paved with threats and escalating violence.
And we have direct evidence of those threats in the sources. A text message.
Yes. In September 2021, Lisa texted that same boss. She wrote, "My boyfriend beat me again. He's threatened before to harm us."
Us. Meaning her and her unborn child.
Exactly. That text is just harrowing. It shows she knew the risk, she was living in it every day. And this history is the lens we have to use to understand what happened on that final night.
Okay, so that brings us to the final days. DeAndre's own mental state was clearly collapsing.
Completely. On June 5th, just a few days before, he sends a text to a friend. And it's like a telegraph of what's about to happen.
What did it say?
He wrote, "My cup filled up, and now it's got to spill over. I don't know how to healthfully let out emotions without snapping or crying because I'm too pissed to talk."
Wow. He knew he was at a breaking point.
And then 2 days later, he just disappears. He leaves with his uncle.
Which leaves Lisa nearly full term in a total state of stress, right? She's texting her mom, Heidi, worried he's gone for good.
And this is where we get that moment of just heartbreaking irony.
The text from her mom.
Yeah. Heidi's just trying to find some positive, any silver lining. She texts Lisa hoping it's a real breakup. She says, If this is how it's meant to happen, at least it was nonviolent and you've been set free.
But Lisa wasn't feeling free. She was spiraling.
Totally spiraling. She tells her mom she broke a razor and cut her leg. She says she's going to kill herself because she just can't get it right.
The anxiety was so high, she was just driving around at what, 1:30 in the morning?
1:39 a.m., just driving, couldn't sleep. The emotional pressure on both of them was at its absolute peak.
And then DeAndre comes back.
He does. On the evening of June 8th, his uncle calls, says he's bringing him back. And Lisa goes to pick him up.
And CCTV footage confirms it. They get back to the apartment at 9:11 p.m.
And Lisa's last text to her mother, sent from the car, with him right there, it just read, "I'm trying to figure it out."
And she had less than an hour to figure it out.
Less than an hour. Because this is when the downstairs neighbors become unwilling witnesses to everything.
Their testimony lays out this minute-by-minute timeline of the horror.
It starts around 9:30. They hear muffled yelling.
Described as kind of like in pain, like someone trying not to scream.
Exactly. But then between 9:45 and 9:50, it escalates. The screaming becomes, quote, really loud and really intense. It's undeniable.
And right after the screaming stops, they hear the thuds.
5 or 6 loud, constant, steady thuds.
The neighbor had trouble describing it, but settled on chopping wood.
Because of the rhythm, the power. It was enough to shake their apartment.
And then, just as suddenly as it all started, it just stopped.
Complete silence. And that silence meant the crime was over. And the next phase, concealment, was beginning.
Which we see on CCTV a couple of hours later. At 11:57 p.m., DeAndre leaves the apartment.
He's changed his clothes. He has a face covering on. And he's carrying a big white laundry basket.
And just 4 minutes after that, at 12:01 a.m., another camera catches him throwing that same basket into a dumpster behind a smoke shop.
The basket that contained Lisa's head.
After that, her car goes missing from the lot, and he's on the run.
He is. He shows up at his half-sister PJ's house at 2:30 in the morning, banging on the door, clearly nervous, and he immediately starts trying to change his identity.
Right. PJ finds him in the bathroom later that morning trying to cut off his dreadlocks.
Says he's had them for 2 years and he just needs a fresh start.
He's getting rid of evidence. He asks for new clothes and then takes the clothes he was wearing, the ones we see on the CCTV footage, and just throws them in a public trash can on the sidewalk.
Methodical. And he tries to distance himself from Lisa's things, too. He gives his grandmother her ID, her debit card, and her keys.
Claiming he just found them on the ground.
Right. Then he leaves on foot, but not before putting a handwritten for sale sign in the window of Lisa's car, which he'd parked nearby. Just a bizarre attempt to make it all disappear.
We should pause here, though, because the system had been involved before this. Lisa's mom, Heidi, had an order of protection against him.
A critical point. She got it after he threatened her directly. He told her, "I love you guys, but I'm coming back to kill you."
So the threat was documented. The fear was official.
And this really highlights the gap in the system, doesn't it? A protective order is a piece of paper. It establishes a legal consequence, but it doesn't provide real-time physical protection, especially in a high-risk situation like this.
And his arrest, when it finally happens, isn't even for the murder.
No, it's on a cannabis charge in Gillespie, Illinois, miles away.
Which raises the question, was there a breakdown in communication between the police departments?
The sources don't specify, but they do detail his behavior once he was in custody. It was extremely erratic.
Manic, restless, pacing, laughing. He wouldn't even give them his name.
He was banging his head against the wall, to the point he had to be restrained. He told them he was dissociated, and then critically, he asked for a lawyer.
Which ends the interview right there.
Right. And from there, the legal path gets pretty complex.
He was charged with first-degree murder and also with the intentional homicide of an unborn child. But it wasn't a straight path to trial.
No. He was initially found mentally unfit to stand trial, so he had to undergo treatment to restore his competency. That's a necessary legal step, but it meant a significant delay for Lisa's family.
And the potential sentence was also complicated?
It was. There was an Illinois Supreme Court ruling that was really key here. It said that for the purpose of seeking a life sentence, the homicide of an unborn child couldn't be counted as a second murder victim.
Which limited what the prosecution could ask for.
It did. But in the end, accountability was achieved.
In January 2024, he pleaded guilty. The sentencing was a year later, January 2025, and he got 60 years in prison.
And that breakdown is important. It was 30 years for the murder, 20 for the homicide of Baby Bean, and 10 for concealing the crime.
And the most important part of that sentence is that the terms are to be served consecutively.
Exactly, one after the other. It means he won't be eligible for release for 52 years. It recognizes the gravity of both crimes.
After the sentence, DeAndre's stepfather made a statement that really brings up this whole other systemic failure.
Mental health. He said this was the result of a severe, untreated mental illness. He claimed the family had been trying for 3 years to get DeAndre long-term help.
And they were told they couldn't hold him unless he did something.
It's a devastating and frankly a common story. Our system is designed to react to crime, not to prevent the mental health crisis that so often leads to it. The system waits for the consequence.
But the final word, the message that really ships this from tragedy to a call for action, it came from Lisa's mother, Heidi.
Such a powerful statement. She emphasized that mental instability is real, but it is not an excuse. It does not remove accountability for the crimes you commit.
And she had an urgent message directly for you, the listener. She said, if someone threatens to end your life, believe them.
Believe them, make a safe plan to leave. She was so clear. Your life is important, and you are worthy of a life without abuse.
And to really understand what was lost, the prosecutor shared one last detail from the crime scene.
It's heartbreaking. Lisa's hand, when she was found, was resting on a book about pregnancy.
Her last thoughts were likely about the future, about baby Bean.
The hope she carried right to the end. And maybe the best way to end this is with Lisa's own words. She posted a poem on Facebook once, and it captured this resilience she was fighting for.
What did it say?
The last lines were, and you learn that you really can endure, that you really are strong, and you really do have worth, and you learn and learn with every goodbye you learn.
So this deep dive, it really lays out the clear trajectory of the violence, the chilling timeline, and this really difficult balance between a failed mental health system and the absolute need for legal accountability.
And it leaves us with a really important question, one that goes way beyond this case. When you have this much documentation, the violence, the threats, a family begging for help, it forces us to ask about the limits of our system. Where is the line between intervening to address dangerous mental instability and just waiting until that instability becomes something monstrous and irreparable?
A profound question, and one we have to keep asking. Thank you for joining us on the deep dive.